Hello friends, welcome to my channel Rairori World. Today we will be discussing on the topic of transmission modes. In the previous video, in part 1, we have discussed about infection, its types and sources. The link of the previous video is being shared in the description box. You can refer to part 1 in that link. Now coming to the transmission mode, there are two types of transmission mode, which can be direct and indirect transmission mode. Coming to the direct transmission mode, which can be through the direct contact, droplet infection, contact with the soil, bite of an animal, and transplacental. Coming to the indirect transmission, which can be vehicle borne, vector borne, which is of two types, which is external transmission, internal transmission. The next is the airborne formats, and the final is the using the unclean hands and fingers. We will discuss about each of it in detail. Coming to the direct transmission, which is a direct contact. So, the direct contact can spread infectious agents from the reservoir to the susceptible host through skin to skin contact. Hence, it spreads directly. Some of the infections which can be caused through direct contact can be the sexually transmitted diseases such as AIDS, syphilis, leprosy, etc. Now, coming to the droplet infections, the droplet infection can spread infectious agents from one person to another by droplets, which can contain the moisture released from the upper respiratory tract either by sneezing or coughing. So, the droplet infections can spread very rapidly. Some of the infections which can be caused by droplets can be the common cold, measles, mumps, tuberculosis, cough, etc. Now, coming to the soil infection can happen when hand or finger which have the contaminated dirt in them are put in the mouth, and also consuming vegetables and fruits that are not washed or peeled. Some infections can be transmitted primarily by walking barefoot in the contaminated soil. Now, coming to the bite of an animal, so common symptoms which can be caused from the bite can be redness, pain, swelling, and inflammation at the site of the bite, as animals have a lot of bacteria in their mouths which can cause infections if a bite breaks the skin. So, it is an infection or injury which is caused by the mouth or teeth of an animal. Now, coming to the transplacental transmission. So, in this transmission, the virus spreads through the fetus by the hematogenous route, in which the pathogens are transferred from the mother to fetus through the placenta. The signs and symptoms depends on individual pathogen. It can occur only when a mother has a pre-existing disease or becomes infected during the pregnancy. Coming to the indirect transmission, which is a vehicle borne, it is an indirect transmission process during which the pathogen is indirectly transferred from a reservoir or a source. Here, the infection spreads from host to another host by inanimate intermediary vehicle objects. So, here the vehicle is a non living substance or an object that can be contaminated by an infectious agent. Now, coming to the foodborne diseases. So, the foodborne infections can be caused by consuming contaminated food and beverages. So, many different disease causing pathogens can contaminate the food. Most foodborne diseases are infectious, which is caused by a variety of bacteria, viruses, and parasites. So, next is the vector borne. So, what are vectors? So, vectors are common insects that can carry and transmit diseases causing bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Some of the biting vectors can be mosquitoes, ticks, biting fly, flea, and mite, whereas the carrier vectors can be the houseflies and the cockroaches. So, the vector borne can be of two types, which can be the external and internal. In external transmission, the fly picks up the pathogen from the fecal matter and carries it on his body. The fly now transfers it to the food. The person eats the contaminated food and then gets sick. So, this is how the external transmission takes place. Coming to the internal transmission, the rat carries the plague bacteria and the flea drinks the rat's blood. Now, the bacteria will multiply in the flea's abdomen. Finally, the flea bites a human and then now the human is infected. So this is how the internal transmission takes place. Now, coming to the biological transmission, here the infected mosquito bites the uninfected person. The infection now spreads through the body and into the red blood cells. The second mosquito bites the infected person, and mosquito may now transmit infection to another person. Coming to the airborne infections mainly is caused by the droplet nuclei, so which can spread from one person to another by droplets usually released from the upper respiratory tract either by coughing or sneezing. So the diseases which can be spread by droplet nuclei includes tuberculosis, influenza, chickenpox, measles and many other respiratory tract infections. Coming to the dust. So, the dust can build up serious health problems, including serious lung disease and, in very rare cases, even death. Dust includes tiny particles of debris and dead skin. So, it can result in sneezing, running nose, itchy and red eyes, itchy nose, etc. So, this can be prevented by cleaning regularly, which can stir up the dust particles, making easier to inhale. So, what are formites? So, formites are the inanimate objects which is involved in the spread of a disease. So, there is a huge array of everyday objects that can become formites. And coming in contact with the infectious agents such as infectious microbes, virus, bacteria, and fungi. So, the contamination occurs when these objects come in contact with the body secretions. Some of the formite are can be phones, countertops, pen, touchscreens, doorknobs, toilet flush levers, etc. Coming to the unclean hands and fingers, so washing hands can keep you healthy and prevent the spread of respiratory and viral infections. So the hand hygiene is therefore the most important to avoid the transmission of harmful germs and prevent healthcare associated infections. Some of the disease which is caused are typhoid, fever, dysentery, etc. Hence, washing hands is very important. Finally, the microbial pathogenicity, which is the entry and attachment of the pathogen, localization of the pathogen at the site of entry, multiplication and spread to various tissues, evasion of host defenses, and shedding from the body and damage to the host. This is all regarding the mode of transmission. If you like my video, please do subscribe my channel. Thank you.